Hello, so it's 11 o'clock, 18th of October 2015, the day after my fight at Duke's Meadow. And the most obvious thing to say is I lost and it didn't go to plan. So just a few of my thoughts about what happened and my general experience and how I feel. So it was always about the experience, and I've experienced it, so there you go. I really wanted to win. I thought I was going to win. And basically what happened was he was bigger than me, and in the second round and onwards he was aggressive. He used sort of big chopping hammer fists, and he caught me with a few good shots. Didn't really do any damage, but it looked, he was pushing me back and it looked bad. So, and I didn't do much damage to him, probably, it's hard to say. He had a good 2 stone on me, possibly more. And the first round went well. I was moving well. He didn't really hit me. I was slipping his punches. I was getting a few jabs off. Generally controlling the space, and looking at the video I felt pretty good about it and was happy with what I did. I didn't land any big shots, but definitely think I won the first round. Second round, I have to say I was tired and I wasn't as sharp as I should have been, and that's just down to the nerves on the day and all the factors. There were a lot of factors at play. The gloves were unfamiliar to me. They felt big on my hands. They felt like these big pillows that basically just favoured whoever could just club with these things as much as possible. There was never going to be, the jab was never going to be very effective with these gloves on, because it was just about the weight of the punch rather than the speed of the punch. So ordinarily, I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just thinking about what happened. I caught him with a few jabs, but it didn't have a great deal of effect, because my snappy punches, well, against a bigger guy, they just didn't have much impact. I don't know what sort of state he was in by the end of it, whether I'd hurt him at all. But he didn't seem to slow down much. It was more for him a battle against his own fitness, and I definitely think if things had gone on longer, he would have struggled to continue. I felt, even though I'd taken a few shots, I felt pretty good. He never really rocked me or anything. He pushed me back at times and I was covering up defensively, but that was always going to be my strategy, to give ground. So the fact that he was moving me back wasn't really a problem, but it looks bad to the referee. Obviously, if a guy's coming forward aggressively and he's got a weight advantage, you don't have many options other than to move back. So that was always going to be the case. But I needed to come back with something stronger at him, and my biggest mistake was probably I wasn't countering with power shots. I needed to come back when he was coming forward. I needed to come back hard, but I'm not a big power puncher, and he had the weight advantage, and it was going to be very hard for me to make a big impact on him. That said, there were opportunities, and I didn't work the body as I should have. I didn't, it was pretty much, I caught him with a few left hooks, but they were all more kind of just light slapping things, never came in hard. And so like I say, round 1 went pretty well, and it was supposed to be round 2 where I was going to come in with some power shots. But in reality, he had pretty good defence, and so he wasn't wide open, and he started using these kind of clubbing hammer fist overhand techniques, which didn't do a lot of damage, but they put me on the back foot, and I think what the crowd saw and the ref saw was that he was kind of wailing on me. So that is what it is, and so I was very disappointed last night. As I said in my previous video, I felt I was going to win this, and yeah, surprise. As the crowd would have been a factor. He had a lot of support. He had over 50 guys. He'd bust in people to all his family and friends and work colleagues, and they had quite a chant going. And I didn't notice at all during the actual rounds, but in between rounds, when you're just kind of taking a breath, you can hear this, and probably on some level that might have been a bit of a psychological factor, because I know round 2 he came out strong and I wasn't as sharp as I should have been. If I'd been on my A game, he wouldn't have connected. I would have got some nice shots in, but didn't really happen. So looking back at the video, I did a few good things. I moved, had some good head movement, worked my jab, and I'm happy with that. But I did let him crowd me at times, and there were times he was just kind of hammering with his rights. He caught me legitimately a couple of nice shots, and that would have showed. When he jabbed me with his weight, there was an obvious reaction, whereas when I jabbed him, didn't look like much had happened, and that's just the weight differential. So there you go. So he legitimately caught me. I think he caught me a good jab in the second or third round, and he caught me a good right in the third round. Didn't rock me, but it was a clean punch, and that's fair enough. And the judges are going to see that, and it's definitely going to count. And when you've got 50 people cheering every time you move your hand, even if it's not a clean connection, the judges are going to be prone to scoring that, because that's just the nature of the sport, really. We're not talking high level Olympic boxing here or professional boxing. We're talking fairly low level, and it's always hard to score these things. So although I felt that I did some good things technically, particularly in the first round, I was really happy with my first round. He definitely had me backing up at places, and landed a few things here or there. Didn't land much, but a few shots. So I don't know. I might have given it a draw, but everyone saw it as a win for him. So I can't really argue with that too much. I think in terms, if I had known, if I'd gone back in time and were to change anything, I would have just told myself, right, stick in some power punches, because I needed to slow him down. I never really started working that left hook to the body. I don't think I threw a few rights to the body that didn't do an awful lot. I think I connected a bit, but they weren't devastating. The shot I really needed to work was that left hook to the body. But the problem with that shot is you can't do it off nothing. It has to be a counter punch, or it has to be a combination punch. And I never really got those big combinations working, because he had pretty good defense, and he had a big clubbing right hand. He threw a lot of right hands, and it was enough to keep me from really getting in there and working any of those power punches. So I was basically fairly happy to keep at distance, use my jab, and I was. This is the other thing that I was talking about in the other video. There were times I was jabbing, he was backing up, and I needed to follow up with some really good thumping shots to the body. And if I'd done that, it could have been a different situation. And that was just an experience and a conditioning thing that I hadn't. it's partly a reflection of the kind of sparring and training that we're doing, that I hadn't practiced really going for the kill. So, I was backing the guy up, maybe scoring a few points off the jab, but I didn't have the follow up to really make it count, and it's not something that I'd trained sufficiently. So if there was a lack in my training, I mean, my conditioning was pretty good. I mean, that said, I did tire, but everyone tires under those circumstances. My conditioning was pretty good, and I was, if you looked at the two of us at the end of it, he was completely gassed out, and I could have kept going. So my fitness was pretty good. My technique was good in the first round. It definitely degraded as things went by, just because of the pressure. So if I could have if the fight had been based on that first round, then yeah, they would have had to give it to me. And if you're taken away the crowd factor, might what have been a draw, might even have gone to me. Hard to say. I can't deny he was pushing me back. He got a few shots in, and he was more busy. But then there were times that I was pushing him back. There was quite a lot of back and forth. But when he was pushing me back, the crowd was roaring and shouting. And when I was pushing him back, it was silence. And these things do have an effect on the judges and just the general perception of the fight. So when at the end of round 3, when the referee was going to announce the result, I thought I was, it could have been a draw, could have been a win for me. But maybe I didn't see what other people saw. So I'd be interested. I'm not saying I did great. I'm not saying that that I should have definitely won and I was robbed. I'm not saying that. But I thought there were definitely times I had the upper hand, but I didn't capitalise. I didn't really do enough damage. As I say, there were times I was pushing him back, kind of had him against the ropes a few times, but when he pushed me back, he really went for it. He just unloaded. And when I pushed him back, I kind of gave him a breather, and that was probably an experience thing. He definitely had some intent there, and whatever street fighting or whatever experience he's had, he capitalized on, and I didn't. I was just, okay, I've got a few points, fine. So there's a lesson to be learned there. If I ever do this again, then I need to develop that. I'm pretty good at the early stages, where you're just kind of finding distance, finding weaknesses, but that just getting in there and hammering away is not something I've been training for. So when it was needed, it didn't come easily. So there's that. As to so what else do I have to say? So obviously last night I was disappointed. Just I don't feel I could have done that much more. I mean, I obviously I could have fought better, but given what I had to work with, the thing is that he did have a big weight advantage, and in boxing, the weight categories exist for a good reason, and he was a lot heavier than me, and he fought well within his style. He covered up fairly well. When he had opportunity, he came clubbing in with lots of big shots and put the pressure on. So I thought he fought really well for what he had to work with, and what he had worked better than what I had at the end of the day. So yes, a part of me was saying, well, if I ever do this again, insist that the guys are the same weight as me. Why would I want to fight a guy 2 stone heavier? he was older than me and I'd been training longer, and I thought that those things would give me the edge, and they might have done if I'd got some power punches working. I think it could have gone the other way, but I didn't, and what happened is what happened. But yeah, just putting myself in this situation of, why would I even want to fight a guy 2, 3? I don't know what he weighed. I know he's at least 13 stone and I'm 11. He could have been over 13 stone. Why would I want to put myself in that situation? And yeah, a lot of mixed feelings about it. Very disappointed. And as you can see behind me, I've got a trophy, which is very nice trophy there, but doesn't really commemorate a victory. It just commemorates being there, so it doesn't actually feel, I don't feel too good about it. So it's more a souvenir of an experience rather than actually having won. So it's definitely an experience. I don't regret doing it. Obviously, lots of thoughts go through your mind afterwards. Part of me says, well, why would I fight someone that much bigger than me? Part of me says, maybe I didn't have the killer instinct to really, the aggression. Maybe I had the physical side, but I didn't have that opportunistic. I definitely had moments when I could have gone in and just really laid some big shots on him, and he might not have been able to handle it. And I didn't do that, and maybe that says something about me. Maybe I lack that killer instinct. So I'm not saying one way or the other if that's true. It's just a thought. The thought of doing this again, right now, obviously, I'm not. It's hard to say. I mean, it was on the money side. I didn't sell all my tickets, so cost me maybe a little under 200 quid. And I was always willing to accept that, but the thought of doing that again doesn't really appeal to me. So I'm not sure where I go from here, and obviously I've had mixed feelings. I've really enjoyed the training, and it's definitely been a good experience. I don't think, in terms of, obviously if you compete a lot, the brain damage issue starts to come into play. My thinking with that was always that I'm never going to do it so much that it's going to be a problem. Basically, day to day we all suffer degeneration of our bodies, and we take risk with our bodies, and as we get old our bodies fall apart. And my thinking was always that the training will outweigh any damage I'm doing to my body, because it's got me in really good shape. So I don't. It was always a balance between the risk versus what you gain, and I still feel I've come out well ahead. I'm physically much better. I'm in much better shape. Got a little bit of a headache this morning. I feel like most of me feels pretty good actually. I feel like I've just had a good session. He did catch me a couple of times in the head and didn't daze me or anything. There was no sense in which I felt during the fight or even afterwards that I was in any way incapacitated or slowed. But obviously no one likes getting hit in the head, and I've got a little bit of a just dull pain now, and that I've had that before and it will pass. But the idea of doing that on a regular basis definitely doesn't appeal to me. So I will heal and recover whatever damage has been done, but I can't imagine doing that regularly. That's going to take its toll. So it's still too early to say. I'm still mulling things over. Um, we experience this whole spectrum of emotions. So part of me says, oh, when I came back last night, I thought, well, obviously boxing is not for me. If I couldn't win that fight, then that's it. It's not my thing. I don't have the right body shape for it. I'm not powerful enough. I didn't have the power when I needed it, and you can't. I had some nice technique, but it's not about that. It's actually you have to have the power delivery. But then I thought, well, for an 11 stone guy, I've actually got plenty of power. I don't have the same power as a 13 stone guy, and I'm never going to. So it's this weird situation of being down on myself and then trying to find some consolation or whatever. So I think, yeah, this morning actually felt pretty good, and I don't feel beat up, and a bit tired. Just going to take it easy, but I didn't get hurt or anything. It's more just a pride thing that I really wanted to win, and I didn't. And obviously the competitive side of me is a little bit upset. But that's definitely good things I can take from it. When I look back at what I did in that fight, I did some good things. It wasn't enough, and the good things I did were more on the evasive side, and you can't win a fight just by defending. So that I did good things, but it wasn't enough. And if I were to do this again, I would definitely want to work. It's not that I don't have the power, but it was more about the intention and the opportunity to use it. As I said, there were times when he was backing up, and if I'd just gone with some big combos, I could have really, that might have been it. But it didn't happen, and I think that's a combination of my natural caution and also my defences weren't so clean. I mean, he did catch me a few times. If I had just played that points game, just jabbing here or there, light shots, but my defence had been so tight that he had never been able to come back, then that would have been a win. But my defence wasn't that tight. He did come in, he did land a few shots, even on the jab he got a couple of good jabs off. So yeah, so plenty to work on there. So I don't know what else I have to say about it really. I think in terms of the future, I mean, I would like to win some fights, but there's obviously, I've had a negative experience in some sense there, so part of me says, well, if I want to find a sport that I can win, maybe it's not boxing. So yeah, but we can have negative thoughts and we can have positive thoughts, and I just think I don't mind being honest. I don't mind exploring that, And to be honest, any boxer who's just suffered a loss is going to be questioning what the hell they're doing. And then they either pick themselves up and keep going, or do something else. And that's a personal decision. And it's not like I have to, it's not like this is my my profession where I have no choice and have to do it for the money. I've got time. I was, as I said, the thought passed me like, well, screw this. I never want to do this again. Not from the injury point of view, just from the feeling, just feeling I let myself down really. But I'll be back in training, I'll be back. And it has been, the fitness side of it's been so good for me. It's hard to see where I'd go next in terms of a fight, because I need a guy who's sort of roughly in my class, and that's hard to find. The guys in my weight are either going to be much smaller than me, or they're going to be really, really good up and coming guys who have just young and fit and strong and these things, and they'll probably beat me anyway. If they had put me in with an 11 stone guy from my club, well, I can't imagine. I mean, there's a couple of guys, but they're a lot smaller, and yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys I'm thinking I could have fought, but they certainly wouldn't have wanted to fight me. And if I had won those fights, people would have just said, "Oh, that's a mismatch. The guy's like got 6 inches on him or something." So those matchups were never going to happen. I don't know quite how I ended up with Dean. I have to say he came on a lot stronger than I expected. So whatever he was doing, he got right. He wasn't pretty. His technique was pretty brawling, and he was using some like hammer fist clubbing punches, which may be of dubious legality, but that's not for me to say. And some of his, I'm not trying to take anything away. I mean, what he did worked for the referee and for the judges and for the crowd. One of the things that was nice is I had quite a few people come up to me afterwards and say they liked, they admired some of my technique. And when I watch that video of the fight, I can be really proud of some of the things I did, but that doesn't win fights by itself. And I don't think I was overly passive. He'd come at me, and then I'd come back at him. But obviously, the judge thought he got the better of those situations, and that may be true. But it certainly wasn't a situation of he was just throwing me around the ring and I didn't throw a single punch. I probably threw more punches than him. I'm not saying that they were strong punches, but I was busy. I should have thrown more punches, definitely, but I wasn't. I mean, I've seen fights where one guy is just stalking the other guy, and it's not even a fight. It's just one guy trying to run away, and it wasn't that. I was throwing back. I mean, there were times when I was passive and covering up, but then I came back. So I'm not gonna beat myself up over that. I thought I was active. I came back. I just wasn't that effective. And I needed to apply more pressure, and that's the thing. If I were to train for this again, I would train for pressure, because I've said this before, there were times I was jabbing him, he was backing up, and then I just needed to keep on the pressure, but I backed off and let him come forward at me. So, yeah, that's what happened. So just kind of, just rambling about thoughts in my head. Don't think there's much else to say. Obviously, it was nice to have my friends there and supporting me. That helped a lot. I think if I'd had 50 people shouting for me, might have made a difference. But it's not. That's not really boxing. That's not really what I should. That's just a crutch. If I can't handle the crowd, then that's my problem. So, yep, I think I'm done. That's it. Thank you.